So I think it would be interesting for us to all do that and see what we come up with.
Yeah.
You know, I replied on a post on Facebook, I think 2 days ago, and it didn't seem to get a whole lot of foot traffic. But when the wine people say that you feed your only addition of nutrients at the third sugar break, that's because they figured that the natural amount of yan found in wine grape juice will feed the yeast up until that third sugar break. And at that point, then they've consumed all the natural yan in the grape juice, and that's why you then are supposed to feed your wine at the third sugar break.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Sergio, when we get to a subject change, it sounds like we need to talk about Curious George.
Oh, okay.
The subject has turned to bananas in the chat. So.
Yeah, I was listening to Ryan. I wasn't following what's going on in the chat here.
No
but
worries.
what came up?
People were talking. We got the I forget who started it, but somebody said they were going to make a banana cream pie mead, and then that started the whole banana conversation. And then it was like, and just exactly what's the best way to do bananas in a mead? Because there's a lot of speculation on that. You see all kinds of techniques on the boards, you know.
Sometimes the most simplest solution is the best solution. Just add bananas.
So you don't, okay, are they like underripe, ripe, overripe? Do you use the peels? Do you freeze them? What do you do with your bananas?
No reason to freeze them. Adding the skins are going, the peel is just going to add more tannin. I'm assuming most of the time if somebody's looking at making a banana mead, they're looking to make a sweeter mead, not a dry mead. But, I don't think you're going to want the peels in there. For me, for our Curious George recipe, we literally just make a really awesome sweet traditional mead with and most of my recipes are usually like a blend of honeys. I very, very rarely use just one honey varietal in any of my recipes. But it's a blend of honey varietals, sweet traditional, and we literally just I go to Restaurant Depot and I buy like 400-something pounds of bananas at once, and like a week or two before we know we're going to add them, and we just let them sit. And they're all in boxes. They're all individually, in plastic wrapped per bunch. So, there's a lot of good ripening going on in there. And as soon as they're ripe enough, we just peel them and throw them into a mesh bag and dump them into the finished mead. So for Curious George, we're also adding vanilla beans. Technically, you want to go banana cream pie. You could easily take that same exact route, sweet traditional, add super ripe bananas and vanilla beans. And, I have 2 recipes now that we're actually adding lactose sugar to it also to kind of give it a little bit more creaminess. Even though I will say, like, super ripe bananas are definitely going to give you a lot more fuller mouthfeel as it is. Even adding into secondary like we do, but a banana cream pie, maybe age it on some ground up vanilla wafers or graham crackers or something like that. If I want banana cream pie, that's how I would go about it.
Well, that's one of the trends that I've seen happening of late is actually using things you wouldn't normally put in mead. For instance, Bee Nectar did one that had actual graham crackers in it. And you did
pie,
one,
yeah,
his apple pie. Okay, and you've done one that had cookies or crackers or something in it, didn't you? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, not yet. We have 2 actually that we're going to be aging on graham crackers. We're making a lemon meringue pie. Mead.
That's right. It's the Cheesecake series. Yeah.
And the cheesecake. Yeah, we're going to be making a whole line of cheesecake meads. The first one, it's almost done fermenting. The base of it is a raspberry cheesecake mead.
Oh, yeah. I want a bottle of that. I'm going to shoot.
Yeah,
damn it.
I want to look at that, too.
I'll see if I get an extra bottle for you, AJ.
It's all just literally, it's a sweet raspberry mead aged, we're adding a ton of lactose, especially to that one. We're adding a ton of lactose sugar to that. And then, vanilla beans and aging it on graham crackers.
And do you just
sometimes
it's
just like
graham crackers
it's as simple
in there?
as that.
You just rack onto the graham crackers,
Yeah,
or what are you doing?
Well, we're gonna be putting them in a bag. We have like really big mesh bags. I actually found the guy coincidentally that could custom tailor any size mesh bag you want that's able to like hold up like over 400 or 500 pounds of weight even without ripping. It's crazy. It actually, so we got them specifically made for food grade plastic drums that we're using for making like 55 gallon batches of our like session meads just for in-house stuff. So that way it doesn't have to take up a whole fermentation tank for our bigger batches. And I basically wanted to line the whole drum with a mesh bag. So I started doing some research. I actually contacted a friend of mine who owns a homebrew shop, and he connected me with this guy. He literally just hand sews like these mesh bags that to any size you want with the drawstring and everything. And we're lining the food grade drums with it. And particularly for our hopped meads, especially that we're dry hopping. So, our IPA meads, we go through a whole boil process. We basically brew a beer. We brew an IPA, just using honey instead of malt. And but then with the dry hops, the issue that comes up is, we need we're cold crashing at our final gravity to halt fermentation that we're stabilizing. And if we want to add any dry hops, especially to our New England IPA style mead, we're actually dry hopping during fermentation even. We need to get those hops out of the batch because you don't want to let hops sit in cold liquid. You start getting a lot of like grassy notes and all that. Mm-hmm. So I wanted a way where how can we just get the hops out without using like small muslin bags that, how could we get the hops out effectively and just keep all the damn mead in the same vessel? Nice and easy. So yeah, these bags literally they're so fine mesh. They even pull out. They'll hold on to even like hop, powder basically, from those pellet hops. So that's all we're going to be doing. We're going to use those really nice fine mesh bags that we're lining the whole fermenter with, and we're just effectively throwing all the graham crackers in whole as if we were just throwing them into a regular tank full of mead, but we're going to be able to pull them all out in one shot.
Nice. Well, that saves all the gunk that would fall out too. Chris Hodge is asking, does the bag sewing guy do it for a business? And if so, can we get a link? No, it's actually a business of his. So yeah, I can most definitely put the link out there for sure. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, really cool. Really quick, really cool. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, let's get the guy some business. It's so funny when you said they hold 400 or 500 pounds, and in my head, because my brain is crazy and doesn't really consult me on things, I'm thinking, and I could see Sergio sticking a couple of his minions in there and like hanging them from the ceiling in the meadery, and it's like a publicity stunt,
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be good marketing for his business.
Yeah, right. Dan Slord is asking, are you boiling your honey water when you're hopping?
Yes. Yeah, imagine making an extract batch of beer using malt extract, but instead of malt extract, we're using honey.
Okay. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I don't make beer, but I imagine the beer makers out there will get it.
You're adding honey to water, bringing it to a boil, and adding hops as per whatever hop schedule you're following.
Okay.
Basically, that's all it is.
Yeah,
you're boiling it more for the hops than for the honey.
Do you have to do that?
Absolutely,
because I've got 3 or 4 packages of hops I picked up when I was at Susan Rude's in North Dakota. She dragged me off to one of her homebrew club meetings, and they were giving out free bags of hops. I was like, oh, sure, here, I'll take that, no problem. So I came home with, I've got Cascade, I've got some Holler Tower, I've got 2 other ones, and they're just the little personal bags, they're little sample packages, little vacuum seal bags. And I thought, it'd be fun to maybe do a 2-gallon batch and just toss those in there and see what happens, because I love hopped meads. But I
would add them in secondary.
Before, so just add them in secondary and just let them extract.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could dry it. You could use them to dry hop a finished mead, essentially. So
Okay.
you don't need to. So here's the thing: the only purpose for boiling hops, well, the main purpose is to extract bitterness. So
yeah,
most beers are not finishing all the way dry. They're finishing at like 10:06, 10:08, 10:14. Some porters and stouts are finishing at like 10:18. So you want especially like a Russian Imperial Stout. It's actually got some good residual sweetness to it, but it's also more heavily bittered to balance that sweetness out. So, the boiling process is what's going to extract the bitterness from the hops. But if you don't boil them, you're not going to extract that bitterness.
Yeah, because I'm not looking for the bitterness. I want the hop flavor notes. The bitterness is not. Everybody knows my aversion to IPAs, so I'm not looking to get like high hoppiness. I want that flavor because I love the flavor. Like Citra hops is one of my favorites, and I actually got a package of that too. And
that's an awesome one. Cascade is also a really great dry hop.
Fuggles,
a good hop for dry hopping.
Okay. Try Fuggles. I adore the smell of Fuggles.
Fuggles are good. Yeah, Fuggles are good. I don't know about dry hopping with them. I mean, it would still be good. I love Fuggles myself too. I think
that's
I'm
true.
actually
I've used it as a steep as opposed to a dry hop. Well, but Saz works really well as a dry hop as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. More of a like toss it in and let it steep a bit and just taste it on a regular basis to see if I'm getting where I need to be. Do it like I would a tea.
Well, Yeah, well,
certainly
here's the thing too. So I have a few tricks as to how we make our IPA meads, and it's the only tip I'll actually give is because of what happened with my first experiment actually a few years ago at home when I tried doing my first hopped mead was, I had a really great homebrew recipe, and I'm like, I love this hop profile on this particular beer that I make, and I want to kind of carry that over into a mead. So I basically thought, all right, let me just, bring water up to a boil and basically make believe I'm brewing the beer, but it's just water in the kettle. And I just basically go through my hop schedule, this hop at 60 minutes, that hop at whatever. And then use that water with that specific hop profile that I love to blend, to dilute the honey into. It does not work very well. You're not going to like the results of that very much. Without any sugars in that water, the alpha acids from those hops have nothing to isomerize to, and you're just basically going to have it's going to come off like boiled grass water.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much what it kind of comes out to. If you're going to make actually steep some hops in hot water to add to the mead or use as the water that you make the mead with, I would recommend adding some sugar to that.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I mean I've got the packages and I just hadn't figured out what I wanted to do with them yet. I just knew that I wanted to play with a hopped mead, and I've had several that I really liked. I just never made one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I've come a long way with these like beer style meads, and I'm telling you, these IPA meads in particular are freaking so damn good. I actually have my sales rep who in Michigan. That he has family out here in Jersey, so he comes out here at least twice a year. Every time he's come by, he brings me like a 4-pack of basically the best-selling IPA out there in Michigan, and it's an incredible IPA. But there was one day I was actually drinking our Mead IPA, and then I opened up a can of that IPA, and I'm like, wow, I actually rather drink our IPA style Mead than this. It's crazy. Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and we've even made like a Belgian wit beer style mead with coriander and orange peel.
Ooh,
and
that sounds yummy.
I totally want to try that.
We made a porter style mead and an imperial porter style mead, which is going to be I'm about to put it into a freshly dumped rye whiskey barrel from Motor City Gas Whiskey in Detroit. Yeah, like a porter style mead, I think was one of the most challenging. That's one recipe that I was thinking of for a few months because how am I gonna get everything that a porter has, including the color, into a mead? Because I got to make it look like a dark beer. I'm not gonna have like a like a mead looking kind of like a white wine in color and call it a porter mead. And